basically he's chosen to be the one to deflower the Empress, which is a great honor, but simultaneously also a great sin. Hello and welcome to another Damn Anime podcast. My name is Nick and I will be your host. Here with me is my good buddy Joe. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right, man. Yeah, just a little tired from our late recording the other night. But yeah, it's good to have you back. It's been a while, so
Yes.
some and excited to see what you have to or hear what you have to say about the whole new near stuff. But we'll get to that later, I suppose.
Yeah, we will get to that very soon. I'll just go ahead and talk about it. I watched a couple of the new episodes. Um, I kind of forgot that they had released episode 8 and that I had watched it before. So I watched it again and I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait, they only released 3 new episodes. Anyway, so I had just kind of totally forgotten that I had watched that several months ago. But anyway, so I watched that one in episode 10, and yeah, so there's 2 more I need to watch, and we'll get to those. I'll get those watched, and then we'll talk about them in a different episode coming up soon. But yeah, it's good to have it back. I'm glad that glad it's back because it's a pretty good show. There's some things that I wish that they could have given it more money, because I think that a lot of there's some money issues that are pretty apparent. But because I think A1 can make a really good anime whenever they really want to, and this is good. It's just not because necessarily of the animation, but otherwise, I'm glad to have it back. I mean, I guess I should be glad that it ever came back at all, because it could have not. But yeah, so I haven't actually been able to watch very much. I've been sort of listless in my anime watching. I watched a little bit of the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, which I actually think is better than the manga. Funnily enough, but anyway, so I need to be getting to that some more, and
How far did you get in that so far?
I'm only on like episode 6 or 7 of the first season, so I'm like probably like not even halfway, you know.
Yeah, I'm about there. I'm rewatching it again. My wife and we decided to rewatch it because it's been a long enough time. So yeah, we're also about that spot right now. So it's I still really like it. It's pretty solid. So
It is definitely different because I'm like, I mean, like, because what I've read too in the manga, some of the same things have happened, but they have injected more different stuff about characters into the anime that I actually really appreciate, because I feel like the manga up to what am I on, chapter like 18 or whatever. I feel like the manga just has not really fleshed out some of the side characters very well, and some of the other side characters it kind of spent too long on. So anyway, I still want to at least read up to the end of the first season before watching the rest of the anime. But that's anyway. So I'm kind of bouncing around there, and some other stuff that I want to get to watching. And I don't know. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick like one thing, and there's a lot of kind of meh anime out there right now. So I also don't want to get stuck on an anime that's really not super great, and to try to stick with it. So it's just
no, this is a weaker season as a whole. There's a few things that I generally like a decent amount, and then a lot of things I'm just like okay with. I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, it's not really rocking my world. I'm not better for it, but I just kind of like some of those things, like I mentioned before last time, like have like a little bit of a homely like art style and stuff like that, and it's just like, yeah, the story enough is entertaining, but there's just something about it that's just not up to snuff. So it's kind of odd that way. So yeah, this season has most definitely been a weaker one. Uh, Probably I feel like one of the weakest ones in like a couple years actually.
yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, like there's not a lot on there that is really moving the needle for me. Jujutsu Kaisen obviously is the biggest thing going um, on the season, but for a lot of the new stuff and a lot of the and even some of the returning stuff, it's just not stuff that is gonna get a bunch of big fanfare. So maybe the fall season or the winter season will bring in some more heavy hitters. Attack on Titan should be coming back at some point, and that's like, I mean, you can think of whatever you want to about it, but the fact is that it's ending kind of finally, and so that's going to bring an added bit of hype to an already pretty big show. So yeah, it's I think it's just I kind of thought this summer season would be better, but than the spring, but I don't think it's even as good as the spring season, which I know you didn't really care for as much. Wait, so do you think the summer season so far?
I I wasn't too upset with the spring season. This summer season is like I said, like most of the stuff that I like isn't like groundbreaking, but there is a few solid stuff, but as a whole, yeah, I feel that I'm not as compelled. I will fall behind on a few episodes here and there, and then I'll just watch a couple of them in a row. That's I'm not chomping at the bit to find out the next news story, essentially.
Right, yeah.
Uh, yeah, so just fun near fact. So there's a near crossover with uh, Naraka Blade Point,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I'm pretty.
Okay.
So I figured you should jump all over that to try to suck out the marrow of lore that you can.
I did see that was gonna happen. They do so many collabs, and it's funny because Yoko Taro, he doesn't always get asked about everyone, but everyone that he is asked about, he says that it's canon and that it's canon, and then he tries to make up an explanation for why it is canon, and it's just bullshit, but it's funny that because he just doesn't care, um, and I like that they try, and it's always cool, like because whenever they put like 2B or 9S or any of their characters in a different game, the other game puts their style onto the character, so because they have to make the character look like they fit in that game, and it's always cool to see that. There's always a lot of slightly different variations on the characters, and that's always fun to see.
But no, as far as the anime this season, was it Reign of the Seven Spellblades? I'm really liking that one. The art style is really crisp. It's uh, set in a magical school setting. So but they don't ape off of the Harry Potter feel like Mashal did. But Mashal's like tongue in cheek. This is they do a good job about making their world set up, and yeah, it's just I recommend that one. That's probably one of the ones I would totally, I know you haven't really gotten into it, so I would say if you got some time, give it a shot. They have it in English. They're up to episode 4 in English, so at least that's not bad at all. But yeah, like some of the stuff is just really really out there. One is it's called Tenpuru. So it's just temple,
Okay.
in katakana essentially, or it's the way phonetically it sounds, uh, and it is straight up from like the late '90s. It feels early 2000s. If you remember like something like any harem anime from like that era, it's like Love Hina esque or something. Uh, it is just straight from that mold. I'm watching this. I'm like, wow, this. I feel like I'm getting dumber by watching this, but there's like a nostalgia factor to just watching it. But I'm like, this is fucking bad. So it's very uninspiring. I guess is the best way to put it.
Uninspiring. Okay. So okay.
Liar Liar is one that I'd say maybe like you might want to give a shot. Uh,
I just can't not
it's
see Jim Carrey whenever you say that, but okay.
um, yeah, I'd say the Liar Liar's another one of these uh, school animes, and this is like I've mentioned it before, but I've actually gotten put on. I've watched the first 5 episodes now. Uh, Essentially, there's an island that is just nothing but it's like there's I forget how many, like 20 districts or something like that, and each district has a school, and essentially you're by schools have competitions and they all play a variant of games. So if you take in any of those anime in the last couple of years that have become really popular, where they have some sort of game mechanic, gambling or something like that, it's essentially it's like that, but instead of any gambling portion, it's like you gain rank essentially is what you do. And upon gaining rank, you get like you can get up to 7 stars being the highest, and you unlock new abilities. They have a whole really weird convoluted subset of rules, and they do a good job about really not telling you about any of them. So they're like, yeah, we're just gonna like skip over the stuff until main character guy needs to come across it, and then we'll dump some
We'll tell you
BS
this was the way the
information.
rule always was, and it's like,
Yeah,
well, yeah, that's why I didn't see any of this coming because you didn't set up the
yeah, it's
rules. Yeah.
essentially the main guy acts, he's fresh off the boat and he's pretty bad in his test scores, but he happens to uh conveniently run into the highest ranked person on the island, and through a misunderstanding, she thinks he tried to set her up to embarrass her, so she challenges him to a game, and he conveniently accidentally wins. And so upon that, he gets a special MacGuffin, which makes him, so now he's pretending to be, even though he's like a 1 star, he's pretending to be a 7 star essentially. Um,
Okay.
so it's him now being the target of everybody, and he has his actor mode in when he's in front of everyone. He plays a big shot. He knows how to talk trash, and then he has a support team for reasons behind him that essentially is helping him cheat through these games. So it's not, like I said, it's nothing. It's not bad. It's not really great, but it's entertaining. So yeah, it's like I said. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that type of stuff this season, that is one I'm watching on the regular. That's the thing is, I like because there hasn't been a whole lot going on. Uh, it's making me go outside the wheelhouse to watch some other things. And you remember I talked to you about Rent a Girlfriend. So yeah, I
Yes.
went ahead and I started watching that. And about 15 minutes in, I was like, yeah, no, I'm done.
You
I'm
know,
out.
Joe.
It was that bad.
Some people
I was
cut
just
them.
like, at,
Joe, some people cut themselves, and it's a little faster. Uh, you could just do that.
yeah, yeah, but I do know the old adage, down the road, not across the street. So,
Yeah.
uh, um, yeah, oh man, it was just bad. So I was like, yeah, But speaking of bad, I did finish the entirety of the new season of Baki Hanma, and
Okay.
that is
Is it good?
so. I don't know if you've ever seen any of Baki the Grappler, like the original anime. It's a very unique art style. They at one point in like they rebooted it kind of, and they ended up turning it to like the cell shaded, it's like a unique cell shaded 3D style. It's not really great, but it's unique to it's the way they present it. It works, I think. Um, and when they started the reboot, like it's always Baki was always semi grounded. There's like, okay, these are people. It's all about martial artists. The main character, his dad, is essentially um, a walking nuclear warhead. He's just like he's that strong. He's Goku and Superman, in one, and he's just like. So that was like the only part that's like, okay, that's stupid, but whatever. But everything else is like he's him fighting different martial artists and everyone being grounded in reality. Uh, but then as the seasons and series goes on, they're like, okay, now we're gonna have people who have more than um, they're super heightened and super elite, and they're like, well, okay, you can't push the envelope any further. So now what? And then I think it was like 2 seasons ago, they're like, we're just gonna have straight up murderers be like, like we're in a martial arts tournament, and one guy there's literally just throws a grenade, and I was like, wait, what? And it's just stupid stuff like that.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I'm gonna pull out a
okay.
gun.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
I'm putting together. I'm getting it now. Oh yeah, Bucky. I didn't really think about
and then
Hanma. Like, what's the Hanma? Because I thought the
that's
show was
his
just.
name.
I thought the show was just called Baki though.
that was like the last version. So this is,
Okay.
but like, so it's originally Baki the Grappler. They made like they've this is like 4 or 5 different seasons of stuff.
Yeah.
So now what they've done is like, well, after everything that was ridiculousness of the last bit, what do we do? We're gonna make it so humans there was actually humans that fought dinosaurs,
Yeah.
and when
Yeah.
the meteor hit, it froze someone in salt and preserved them, and then they awoken just magically. And now all the fighters really want to fight this guy who can take down a T-Rex, and it's like it's just so bad. It is so bad.
Yeah,
um
I've heard a lot about Baki. Super Eye Patch Wolf talks about Baki pretty often in some of his videos, and I've watched some of these. And yeah, it's not the kind of thing that I would want to watch or read, but I appreciate someone digesting it for me and like saying, "Look at how crazy this is," for like 20 minutes, and then moving on. But yeah, I mean, like, and I do have a lot of respect for the artist because he does some pretty amazing stuff with some of his drawings and stuff like that. Um, some really amazing art, some really amazing exploration into the what do you call it? Into the anatomy of the human body, because he understands it really well, and that's how he's able to like stretch it and pull it and make it like look insane and still sort of make sense. But yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
once again, it went from a basis of grounded, like, yeah, this is possible, to plausible, to no, this is dumb, this is ridiculous, just stop already. Why do you keep on going? Just,
I think
you know,
I think Obama and Bush are canonical characters
um,
in the manga at least. Maybe Trump
yeah,
too.
so Obama, but they call him something else, but you look at him like that's Obama. Uh,
Obama.
and the presidents essentially vow a non-aggression pact with Baki's dad.
Gosh,
Like, we will let you do whatever you want, we won't touch you, and we'll just let you run free. That is literally what they say. They're like, yeah.
so stupid.
Yeah, it's like that series has just gotten more and more ridiculous as it gone on. And the thing is, at the same time, they don't have the power to commit. So essentially, the this they call the caveman Pickle because he was preserved in salt.
Yeah, pickle. I
And
heard about.
one of the scientists say
That's his
that,
name.
like, so his name becomes Pickle, and they end up saying, yeah, it's just like, but because there's no more, he hunted the T-Rex, and he's just like, all right, well, he has no foe to murder and then ingest, so uh, and all these martial artists want to fight him, so like, fine, like, I'll fight him and I'll let him eat me if I lose, and then the guy gets his ass whooped, and he's just like, so he starts to eat him, and then
Oh,
they trank him, and he's like, so the guy's like, I lost, and I can't believe I couldn't let myself get eaten, and blah blah blah, and then like every person who subsequently loses, they like the next person loses a limb, and like, or like they just, but none of them actually get completely murdered. I'm like, no, no, just start killing these guys off, like, end the series. I don't care, just let it be done.
no.
But they're like, yeah, they're like, we can't. It's just once again, it was, I actually really liked the, like, because it came out years and years ago. Like, I want to say like early 2000s easily, if not late 90s, the original Baki. And that was, like I said, it was neat. It was a different, it was very um like on the same vein of like, I don't know, super macho as like Fist of the North Star or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, but Fist of the North Star is like Mad Max apocalypse, crazy, stupid, entertaining. But this was supposed to be like, well, this is all relatively plausible. It's just like, you
yeah.
can stretch your imagination and all that stuff. But now, it's like if you were trying to, it wouldn't be a far stretch to be like, the next, in a future season, to see someone start doing like Street Fighter, Dulcim, like yoga, stretch it, like the punches and stuff like that, and they'll come up with a reason why this guy can, defy his anatomy or something, and it's unfortunately, um yeah, it's just garbage. Essentially, is the best way to put it. It's just kind of garbage. Uh,
Yeah, and it's not
but if you
your
want
kind of
if you want to watch
garbage.
something super dumb and be like, yeah, let's see this goes. But like, I was hoping the fools would get like chomped on and like and just like yeah, finish it, just end this thing. They're like, no, we can't do that. We have. It's just like I don't know. It's just like, well, why can't you just guys just commit? So yeah, I sat I didn't sit through. I kind of have it played in the background, and that was a good background thing because like I said, that was really dumb. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, what about what else have you been watching?
So I watched. So Todd was talking about spring season earlier. I think this is from the spring season. It's on Netflix. It's called Oku, The Inner Chambers. It popped up a long time ago, and I was like, "Huh, that looks kind of weird and interesting." I guess, but I had no idea what it was about, so I decided to watch some of it. The first episode is like an hour and 15 minutes, so they kind of pulled a an Oshinoko a little bit there. It does not hit like that, but it's a longer episode. I kind of see why they did it too. But basically, the premise of this show, it's ancient Japan, um, and a mysterious disease called red face smallpox that only kills men swept across Japan and uh, killed like almost all of the men in the country. And now women run everything, and men are basically just a commodity for like sex and procreation and stuff like that. And the emperor is a woman and has been for like two or three generations now. And uh, she has a basically so like originally the inner chamber is like supposed to be for all the concubines and courtesans and basically all the chicks that the emperor has, right? But it's reversed, and the empress is has like a stable of dudes, and the first episode follows this one guy who is very good looking or whatever. It follows this one guy who basically chooses to go into the inner chambers, and he like levels up really fast and stuff like that, and it and he gets chosen to be he gets chosen to be the empress's I think they call him this. They call him the secret Swain. so, so basically, he's chosen to be the one to deflower the empress, which is a great honor, but simultaneously also a great sin. So he is honored by it, but because he is the one that defiles the empress's perfect whatever, they have to kill him afterward. So this is
Yandere logic. Okay, Roger that.
so yeah so
Or
uh
Yandere.
so basically I'll leave that part there, um as to what actually happens to sort that out. But yeah, it's kind of slow. The it's not the best, but the commitment to what they're doing is pretty interesting, I'll say. And they don't talk like normally. So, like, they don't really talk with a purely modern English or like a purely normal modern English. It's English that you can obviously understand because I'm watching it in English, obviously. Um, you can understand it, but it's slightly, elevated kind of speech, but they don't commit to it. They didn't like really like do all the research to make it flow perfectly. So sometimes they're like the honorable blah blah blah, and then sometimes they kind of just talk sort of normally. And anyway, so it's got a good bit of jank to it, I would say, in that regard. But yeah, it's very surprising. I thought it was going to be about like the like ladies in the inner chamber of ancient Japan or whatever, and intrigue and stuff going on there. And it is that, but it's totally reversed, where women have all the power and men are just like, well, there's like plenty of like men who have power, but it's it is very different than what I thought it would be. And yeah, it's I'm probably gonna drop it. I've watched 3 episodes. I'm probably gonna drop it because it changed after the first episode a little bit to be something a little bit different than I thought. They kind of did a flashback, but it was definitely well worth the ride. At least on that first episode, you could watch the first episode and get something out of it. But yeah, very odd anime. Was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, it's I remember seeing the cover and I thought the art style looked odd, to put it politely. It wasn't like normal. It's at least the cover poster that I saw didn't look like normal anime.
Huh.
It had a unique art style to it, so I was like, okay, well, I just kind of left it on the back burner. So, uh, yeah, the one of the things I've because you said that was from last season, I'm actually watching some older stuff too, and one of which is the I've now made it to season 2 of uh, the Bungo Stray Dogs.
Oh yeah.
They're currently in season 5 right now, it's coming out, and so yeah, like a little while ago, I started watching season 1, and it's all right. I mean, it's entertaining. It's
Dang it.
the I'm not quite sold on it yet, but I'm like, it's the fact that something gets 5 seasons, is usually worth paying attention to.
Like, what's it
So,
about exactly?
essentially modern day times, people in Japan have or people have some people have supernatural powers, and there's a mafia group in Japan that has these ability users, and there's a secret like government organization that runs as a kind of like a police, not just for the mafia, but for the just for any incidences that happen, uh, and that's where you get the whole quirky cast of people. Everyone's powers work differently, and so you get kind of it's almost a procedural in that sense. There's a new case every episode to a certain, and there are some, there are people's pasts and they have their own story arcs. So, and it's all about a new kid who they come across who happens to be able to turn himself into he's a were tiger essentially, and uh, yeah, the it's there's a couple things that it reminds me of, and I'm drawing a blank on like it tries to have a really whimsical like aspect to it, and I think it kind of does it, but doesn't quite stick the landing. Season 1, like I said, it was entertaining enough. Season 2 started off as the first handful of episodes were all flashbacks, um, and that kind of brings the mood down a little bit, but it actually makes it a darker tone, and it made it more that part was a little more interesting. And then it's like it's now after the first, I think it was 4 episodes or something, that they now brought it back to current events. um and so like, okay, you get to know about at least one of the main characters, his past and stuff like that. You're like, all right, that makes a little more sense. And uh yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's just, like what, but I'm still kind of surprised it's gotten this many seasons. Um, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. I mean, I'm entertained by it. So it's it's not like I don't know. Just yeah, I guess as a whole, I think I like it better than Attack on Titan. But that for me, I don't like Attack on Titan. That like I was not impressed by it. Like I was more curious about the mystery of Attack on Titan, but I think a lot of the execution and stuff was just lacking. While this is just more overall episode to episode, I'm enjoying myself with it. It's just like um and Attack on Titan had a whole bunch of angst and crap that I just did not care to deal with. um
Yeah.
like the serious moments, like some the moments, the good moments were really good, but like everything else was not in that series. While this is just overall like okay. you know it's not like really bad at any point, but it's not like really great so far. And so I'm kind of just watching it as a, it's like I said, it's not a bad thing to pass the time, and I'm hoping to hit something that makes me like, oh, dude, this is where it hits, and this is why it's continuing. Um, I haven't felt like I hit that point yet. Um, but it kind of has a Keikai Sensen or Blood Blockade Battlefront vibe to it. But at least that world was so out there and so weird, and I really like that series. But this doesn't feel as committed to that, but mainly because it happens to be in current timing, settings and stuff. So once again, I'm gonna stick around and watch it because I want to know why it's getting 5 seasons. So
Yeah, that I
but
mean,
I'll let you know if, like I said, if you want to give it a shot, go for it. But it's a lot to watch.
are
So
the characters like really likable or well written or anything or
it's hard to explain without going into a deep dive. I can go into a whole episode about this,
okay.
about season one. So
All
essentially,
right.
it's a lot of quirky people. Everyone has their own stylings to it, So you got the main, like yeah, your main character. You got your main character or two main characters. One's the new kid that I told you about, and then it's like his his superior senpai or whatever you want to call him, and that dude's just he literally is obsessed with trying to find his own death. Essentially, he's like they first like he first sees him like floating in a river because he tried like jumping in, I guess, or some crap, and they he's the one that he had his backstory flushed out in the beginning of season two. You're like, okay, you can see a little bit more, you can understand a little bit more. His power is to nullify other people's abilities. So that's just his abilities, just to stop everyone else's. Um, like you have a character who he's a country bumpkin, so he's like wicked strong. He wears overalls. They're all like a stereotype of a certain thing. They have a team member who happens to have um he's a genius. He's like Sherlock Holmes, essentially like anything he sees, he can automatically deduce. Turns out though that slight spoilers, that guy actually has no ability. That's just his God-given gift, but like he's just a smart guy who can do that, but he thinks it's an ability. And so he's like, when I put on my glasses, like my normal, like that's when I can deduce everything. That's my power activating. And everyone's like, but uh, yeah, so it's this quirky band of heroes, I guess, good guys, and they go against other rando factions. So once again, there's just I feel like there's something missing to really make it hit hard.
Yeah.
Um, but once again, if it's gotten this momentum, there has to be something coming. At least that's what I'm really hoping for. If not, you'll hear me complain about it later. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah. No, other than that, like, the same, some of the same old, but still going strong. You got the Reborn as Vending Machine. That's
Still fun.
episode 5 now. It's entertaining. I'd say it's lighthearted and puts a smile on your face. It's like, all right, good to go. My Happy Marriage. I mean, if you want to like a romance, slight romantic story. It's not overbearing. It's enjoyable. I'm having an okay time with it. But once again, it's like there's not really a lot of things that are knocking it out of the park. There are a few things that I haven't watched yet myself, like Horimiya, the missing pieces, because that's like filler episodes. Things that they cut out from the original story, from the main when they made the actual anime series, they skipped parts of the manga. So that's what this is supposed to be, or at least that's what I was told by a friend. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. But now, if you want to get the chronological order when this is finally complete, you're going to have to do like Haruhi Suzumiya and then be like, okay, you got to watch a couple episodes from the main series. Then you have to watch a couple episodes of Missing Pieces and you got to intertwine them. And I'm like, that's going to be ridiculous. So I find that, you know, less than optimal, I guess is the polite way to put that.
Okay.
Um, I watched 2 episodes of they rebooting Rurouni Kenshin, and I liked Rurouni Kenshin when I long time ago, but I don't know if I like it now anymore. It was neat. It was really cool back in like you know when I was in high school, but now I don't
Well,
really feel like it's necessary.
I mean that Rurouni Kenshin movie. I forget which one it was. I think they've made a couple, but there was one in
It
particular.
was a three-parter. It was a three-parter that came out when we were in Japan. Um,
Okay. What is it? Because that's not what I
uh,
remember.
it it's multiple story arcs is what it was. Because it starts. I forgot the original, but then they do the Kyoto arc as well, and that's why it was three that came out all with the same actor within a span of like 2 or 3 years.
Nah, that
Um,
this would be an anime that came out uh, before I went to Japan.
oh,
Um,
okay. I thought you meant the most recent ones that came out in like uh 20 like I think 2015 or something like that. Because they had them out with live action. That was pretty well received.
yeah.
The
Go ahead.
Now they had the Samurai X as well, which is the old OVA. Yeah, they really muddied the waters with some of their releases as well. So
Maybe this was it. Maybe it's yeah, maybe it's Samurai X. But dang it. Anyway, yeah, there was one in particular that was, I mean, because when I was in high school, Rurouni Kenshin was a little bit of a joke. It was like, yeah, it's kind of good, but it's also kind of silly among some circles. And I was like, okay, whatever. But when I got to college, uh, one of my friends was like, no, there's this one like Rurouni Kenshin anime movie that is like legitimately really good. And I was like, oh, really? And they were like, yeah, you should really watch it. And I watched it, and it was totally different. It was not like, oh, I'm gonna get you, and slash slash. It was like super low key, super serious, and really, really well written. I wish I could find it again. I'll find it and send it to you later. But
yeah, I'm wondering if you're just thinking of Samurai X, which is once again,
that might
it's
be it.
the series is meant to be somewhat lighthearted with a bunch of serious points throughout. I'm like, it's a good series, but at the same time, it was one of those things that's like of a time. When nothing else really was like it at the time, it was a very cool series. And then as writing and other stories got better, because I think I ended up liking Samurai Deeper Kyo better. That came out afterwards as well, and they made better samurai esque things as well. So, um, it was just one of those. It's when you got a hero that is like trying to be a pacifist at all times, and like you know it gets boring, I guess, for me. That's why like a lot of DC heroes are just annoying most of their story arcs because they're like, no, we can't really do too much bad things because we're heroes and we have to be, like Superman or something like that, and like or Batman, like I'm going to arrest them and put them in an institution, or a prison so they can escape later on, and that way we have more content. So I'm like, yeah, it's not really, my favorite of those stories are always like the side stuff, the ones that the really weird stuff that goes off the deep end.
Yeah,
um
I think what I'm thinking of is a mini series called Trust and Betrayal. It's a Rurouni Kenshin Trust and Betrayal, and I think this is what I'm thinking of. It came out in 1999 and it's like a prequel to it's like the origin story for how he got the scar. Um, and it's really really good. Yeah, I mean it has like a 8.6 on IMDb and 8.7 on my anime list. If you haven't seen that, I it's only 4 episodes, so it's basically 50 and 50, so an hour and 40 minutes. So basically, it's like it's a movie length thing, and definitely definitely worth your time. I would recommend it to anybody who's the least bit into anime, and even people who aren't. But
no
yeah,
but the only other thing I think I'm really liking out of this series is like some of the season 2 stuff, like the uh
this is Jobless
Mushoku
Reincarnation.
Tensei. Yeah, so
Okay,
yeah, the jobless reincarnation, yeah, that's season 2 of that. That one started out, it's kind of funny because the main series of the manga, because they've made spin-offs following other characters. but there's a time jump, and essentially that's where season one ends and season two here starts. Um, but the time jump is actually farther in the manga, and they just quickly recap like the first 3 or 4 episodes of the anime. So the anime kind of actually fills in more of this gap. I'm like, oh, okay, because it was really weird. I remember reading it, be like, wait a minute, I feel like the way you just abridged everything, just glossed it over, like, and like yeah, some stuff happened and I made some mistakes and they kind of show a couple like 1 or 2 panels and yep, and now here I am. I'm like, wow, I feel like I missed a side story. Like, yeah, but they filled that in here. Um, so that's it was all right, but because I already knew the outcome and I knew it wasn't like it was kind of a chore to watch to a certain extent. Like, all right, yeah, I'm glad you're filling me in on this, but since I already read the manga and it's already filled, like they abridged this, I'm like, that was actually like, yeah, I know this isn't going to end well. So, and I know where he's inevitably going. So I'm like, yeah, I just want to get there. um, but no, it's this season should. I'm pretty sure I know where this season will end because they're already out in episode 5, and so I'm like, they'll. It's a 12 episode season, so I can confidently like predict where it's going to stop.
Okay.
So I'm hoping they get another season because I've actually stopped reading the manga for like a year and a half now or something. I just haven't had time to, and which means like if I don't know, things usually only get translated and released like once a month, once every 2 months. 2 months is usually about the average if you're lucky. Um, if they're consistent, maybe once a month. So I'm not that far behind, and so I'm hoping that if the season 3 ever comes out, they'll probably catch up or pass the manga. So no, the but I still like the series. It's still solid, and I know you don't necessarily want to try to play catch up with the series, and I can't blame you for that because this is actually the third. They say it's season two, because season one was done in 2 parts. So you're talking like season one was 11 episodes and then 12 episodes, so 23 total. They have I know the 1 or 2 OVAs, I think, and then they have now their season two is going to be 12 episodes at least for this part. If they do a second, they might do a second half as well, unknown, or at least I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's but I like the series, and once again, this is one of the first ones that ever had Truck Kun involved. So that was back before the trope of everyone getting isekai'd.
Yeah.
That's I think that's why I personally like the series a little more because of the fact that it's I followed it for so long, I guess. So
Yeah. You kind of.
so I can't necessarily say it's nostalgia. Maybe
Well, it
lowering
is.
my
It
my
is.
opinion.
It kind of a show kind of in a weird way sort of becomes like a old friend. I mean, less so now that I'm a bit older. But like a lot of shows, like I mean, like Lost for better or worse. It's kind of like after 5 seasons, like dang man, and that's kind of why it's hard to let go of a show that gets worse and worse over time because you're just like it's just it's just like it's just like it's you just can't you're just like still in the motions of it. And Game of Thrones in a similar way too. You kind of you get attached to a show as you watch more and more of it and the characters and stuff. And so yeah, that's sort of how it goes.
All right. Well, I'm kind of curious to see what series you'll be diving into. I there's still a few things that with potential out there that I haven't touched. Like I only watched the 1 episode of the Hulk or something like that. So
Oh yeah.
there's still some things that could be more solid.
Well,
Um, or like the level one demon lord in a one room. The one room hero.
yeah.
So that one seems to be a tongue in cheek like comedy. It's better to watch something like that than like Masamune Kun's Revenge, season 2, because
Yeah.
I'm kind of watching that and I'm like, yeah, I kind of lost interest at this point. It's just like I watched season 1 and season 2 is not hitting it for me.
Yeah, about that, kind of since this season is maybe not the strongest season, and I've kind of been wanting to for a while. I'm thinking about going back and diving into a big old series, like a foundational series that I missed. I'm not sure which one yet, but I think I'll probably try to do that. Still try to keep up with something and watch something interesting, but to be able to talk about in case I can't finish uh, the series I'm thinking of. But yeah, that's kind of my plan right now because there's a lot, and it's like it's okay. I'm sure like a lot of these shows are good, but some of them sort of just seem like time wasters when I could be watching something that might be um, a little bit better for my anime education, as it were. So
So
that's
you heard it
that's.
here. Nick's going to be watching Bleach, all the series of Bleach,
How did you know?
and because the new Bleach Thousand Year Blood War is currently airing, or I don't remember if it's
it
finished now.
it
I
crossed
just
my mind for like a tenth of a second, and I was like, I don't want to watch all of Bleach. Like, I don't want to do that. I've actually seen a couple of YouTube videos about some of the worst parts of the Bleach series, which I understand. Why some things are that way, but yeah, I just Bleach, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, those are boats that have been One Piece. Those are boats that have been missed. I'm not saying I would never go back and watch those, but it would be a Herculean effort to go back to any of those.
Dragon Ball Z is very, very palatable. It's only like it's actually not that hard to go back to. I've done it before the Kai series, and if you want, you can just watch the Kai series, and that's actually pretty easy that way. Um, Now Naruto, that's rough. And I actually did season one or the series one, and then I did like I don't know 2/3 of Shippuden, and then like
Huh.
yeah, it's just one of those things that it actually Shippuden is actually better. It's like it's actually solid, like as far as a concept. The
That's
only
when I
problem is
remember hearing about.
they get into like 100 episodes of flashback. Like
Oh yeah, I
long
forget
story
about that.
short, something happens, and then every person that you've ever met in the series happens to have a flashback, and it lasts for like 100 episodes. It's like all I mean, the episodes aren't bad, but it's just like, come on, the actual main story was solid, and then you had to take a break for forever. Um, and yeah, I actually like the big major epic battle sequence was happening, but like it was just stuff happened. And I just ended up during this a war, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done right now. I'll come back to you later. And I kind of do want to see it just because uh I don't know, it was the actual series that Shippuden was okay. But the fact that they made a Baruto and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, now you guys can just die.
Yeah,
Um,
they're just trying to milk every last bit, and that's when nostalgia goes really bad. Is when it's like they're kind of creating a new character, but they're really just milking the nostalgia of the people that grew up with the one thing. It's like
Yeah, and I
whatever.
mean, but there's some like I said, as far as Dragon Ball is probably one of the best to go back to, only and it's somewhat relevant because they're still making new stuff. I mean, if you were looking at just foundational like shonen stuff, like you got Yu Yu Hakusho and stuff like that, series that
Oh
have actually finished. Um, but for things that are still ongoing, you will never get me to get close to One Piece again. I was there in the beginning, and then I fell off, and I'm like, yep, I've never once regretted leaving that ship. Uh,
yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho is one I've always heard is great, and then Hunter x Hunter is one that people just freaking rave about all the time. I think that the anime is it's not finished, and there might be another season or something that may come out
Hunter x Hunter
someday.
has been done with forever ago.
I thought it wasn't done because the manga. No, you're right. There is like some sort of end to it, but like the manga technically is not done. But the guy is
What
getting
they
really
did is
old, and
they did a series back in the day, and then they rebooted it. Essentially, they just did it with cleaner art style. But no, that's the series. The series has a full cycle. They have towards the end it gets a little bit drawn out, but no, it was very different, and Hunter x Hunter solid. Um,
yeah, I've always heard it's
I
good.
they do it's a different enough world, it's a different enough setting, and oh, that's that one's all right. But yeah, like as far as current things that are going on though, like I said, Bleach it was notorious for the most filler that has ever happened in a thing. Um,
Oh, Bleach,
and
yeah, yeah.
so that's why I joke about you doing Bleach. Um, but really, you should probably do it just for science.
Yeah, for science and masochism. That's just the reason why I do most things. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's probably gonna do it for us here. Thank you for watching another damn anime podcast. I've been Nick, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.